Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for meeting
Hi,
us.
Dave.
Thanks for meeting. At the Fort Churchill Visitor Center, Park Supervisor Jim Prida agrees to guide us as we explore the park.
For a western fort, this was a very large fort. In its time, it was one of the largest, well, it certainly was Nevada's largest, first and largest fort in Nevada.
So, Jim, what's the history of the construction of Fort Churchill?
Well, Fort Churchill was built to protect the immigrants that were coming across from California, the western expansion. When that occurred, the settlers had some conflicts with the Paiute Indians.
Mm-hmm.
2 battles took place, the Pyramid Lake Indian War of 1860. After the second battle, orders were given to build a post along the Carson River, which ended up being Fort Churchill. Construction started spring of 1860 and was completed a year later, 1861. The soldiers were dispatched out into areas. They'd go as far east as the Humboldt region, as far west as Honey Lake Valley, California.
Did they also protect the Pony Express riders?
Yes, they did. Pony Express, settlements along the Carson River, of course, Virginia City and the Comstock area as well.
So this
Okay, this building right here is the post headquarters. You mentioned the Pony Express. They would ride from Buckland Station right up through here and stop at the post headquarters, drop off the mail, pick up whatever mail they had for the day. The officer of the day, of course, worked out of this building here.
How do you determine how much restoration to do before you feel like you're almost, remaking and taking a little of the history away? Is that difficult?
Yeah, it is very difficult because you want to remove as little as possible.
Sure.
Obviously, the more you remove, the more history maybe you're removing. We try to take a photograph of the building before they start the work and go with a plan of how much is going to be removed and try to make the building look as much as like it did when they started.
'Cause at some point you don't want people to think that they're not really looking at the original fort.
Well, of course. But you also have to realize after 130 some odd years, to find an original brick in these buildings, that might be kind of hard.
Right,
The Civilian Conservation Corps, 1935, came through and literally rebuilt all the buildings probably to what we're looking at right now. Without that, they might all be piles of mud. Some of those mounds out there are what's left of some of the buildings.
I see.
There were 21 adobe buildings at one time. Now we have 14. This is an archaeological site uncovered in 1976.
Oh, wow.
You see, wood was so valuable back then. You'd build a building out of wood. You'd use it until its use was no longer needed. You'd take the wood and you'd
Use it for something else.
Use it for something else, exactly. Well, we had an archaeologist uncover this structure. It was just basically a big pile of rock and dirt. They dug this out, basically found what we believe was the Post Bakery. They had a bakery here.
Ah.
And those walls are what's remaining of that bakery. So that's very pristine because that particular structure has not been touched by man. It's been left as it is because it was covered up.